Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. However you happen to be watching or listening to this, I want to welcome you to another episode of the Gaming Circle Podcast. The podcast where, this week we are excited because we are in the middle of a lot of great games either released or coming out, and we have an awesome guest to discuss a game that I'm excited about. But of course, I am your host, Mr. K. Asante, TKO Asante, on all the places we communicate. And I am, of course, joined by my brother, my co-host, the DevOps man by day, gamer by night, and slanderous podcaster on the weekend, Mr. Everborn Saga. Good morning, sir. How are you doing?
I'd like to make a slight correction. You said a lot of games. There are, in fact, too many games.
True. So true. No doubt.
No doubt. Every day I have to make difficult decisions about what game I'm not going to play in favor of the game that I am.
The backlog grows. These are the problems we have, ladies and gentlemen.
They call me the backlog bandit.
Great. Thanks. It's going to be that kind of show this morning. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you for setting the tone. I thank you very much. And on that topic of games, we are honored this week because we are joined. Now, y'all know, we've had this conversation on the show a long time ago. This is the culmination of something that my now 8-year-old daughter started. Ladies and gentlemen, from Compulsion Games, we are honored to have the audio director, Chris Fox, joining us this morning. Chris, thank you so much for being here. How you doing this morning, sir?
Good, thank you. Good. Yeah, glad to be here. Yeah, and what a story that was as well, our connection there.
Indeed. Yes. So now my daughter needs her percentage every single time I hear something interesting is happening. She is now my manager.
Yeah, your agent, right?
It is what it is. Indeed. Yes.
15 to 20%.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes.
I think you got to double click on why that is. You got to little bit give the people a little bit on how we all met and how this all came together.
So real quick at the top, for those who don't remember or those who don't know this story, basically myself and Mr. Everborn Saga found ourselves, I found myself in the Dominican Republic because a good friend of mine, one of my best friends, was getting married, the aforementioned Everborn Saga. So we're there. It's a great resort. I came with the friends, with the family, wife, my kids, and we dropped the kids off because it's one of those rare situations where we never get a chance to hang out, and my wife and I. So this is one of those rare locations where you can drop your child off, and they'll have fun. And my son and my daughter go play. They play games with other families. So they're playing, and I come back, and she's like, my daughter's like, so I need you to come with me. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, well, so I talked to someone about your podcast. I'm like, oh boy, here we go, right? TLDR, she talked to the son of Chris Fox about my podcast, which led to me meeting Chris Fox. And basically that's how we're here. It was very surprising. And she's just like, yeah, I can talk to people about your podcast. I think it's really good. And I think people should know about it. And she just happened to talk to, the audio director of Compulsion Games about it. So yeah, here we are. So there you go. That's what happened.
I remember her being so well spoken as well. And then I also remember being like, oh God, what did he say? Because obviously he comes in, work from home, sees a few bits, right? So like what did he say? He was pretty good, and yeah, we got chatting, didn't we? We shared one of those like little cabanas one day, I think.
Yeah, we had a good time. It was fun. Yeah,
indeed. Ended up, passing by for the end of your wedding, I think, Everborn.
You are on mute,
It was
sir.
really like one of those rom-com movies where
yeah, it was.
it was a whole thing. You had to be there. But I know we don't have a lot of time. I just wanted people to understand because it is one of those like once in a lifetime stories.
Weird stories.
It better be once in a lifetime, right? I'm getting married, but let's get going.
And my 8-year-old talking to just strangers about my video game podcast. But that's neither here nor there. Yes,
I said, a rom-com.
Indeed. But okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for being here. As this is the show where on the weekends we come, we hang out, we bring some guests and we talk about what's going on in gaming, stuff that we're playing, stuff that we're enjoying. And this week we are obviously honored to have Chris Fox joining us, talk a little bit about South of Midnight. We hear recently it went gold, so congratulations on that, good sir. And we want to pick your brain a little bit about it. we can say that we have been honored to be allowed to play the game ourselves. We are playing the game currently. The embargo for it will lift on April 3rd. So Everborn Saga and I have decided that once the embargo lifts, we will let folks kind of file in, get a bit more into it, and then we want to have a spoiler discussion on the show. We'll do a whole thing. We're planning something interesting, so stay tuned for that. But in the here and now, we're going to talk with you about some of the aspects of some of the interesting gaming and musical aspects that I found super interesting in the game. But before we get into that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for being here. As you know, usually we'll talk about the games we're playing, and we'll get into all that stuff as well. But in the interest of making sure we respect Chris's time, we'll start the first half of the show just discussing South of Midnight. So please respect that we'll be doing a little bit of that. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Actually, we want you to ask some questions. And today, the top 3 questions for Mr. Fox, and I have a Q&A up right now, will be the top 3 questions will earn themselves a copy of South of Midnight on Steam. Now, the top 2 will be GCP. We'll offer that, and the 3rd copy will come from the one and only Mr. Sycamore, who's in the chat right now. So thank you, Sycamore. He's like, oh, you guys are doing that? Well, I'll add another one. So thank you, Sycamore. There are 3 codes for anyone who can offer some interesting questions for Chris to answer.
One code
so thank you guys so much.
For 3.
Well, one code for, yes, you understand. Yes. You understand what I'm saying. Anyway, so let's get this thing started. Now, we usually talk about the games we've been playing. So I'll start this with you, Chris. What games, besides your own, I expect you probably be very busy today. You these days. I before we started the show, you told us that you're not even at home right now. So it might be a quick answer to your question. Have there been any games in the recent, I don't know, couple of years that have been keeping you interested?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like apart from that, we'll play the game like so much, right? So the audio team often plays the game the most. Well, I wouldn't say that because QA, of course, like the whole studio is playing the game, but my audio team love games, and they're playing the game a lot. And so when you get home, you're like gamed out a lot of the time, especially at the end of like a stretch, right? So like the audio pass and stuff. But I'm like a super huge like Halo fanboy. Like I've been playing Halo for like
as you
ages.
Should be, sir. As you should be.
and still somehow not very good. Like so, like that's really annoying. Like I think I looked at my hours on the MCC and I'm like, I think I've got like 355, and I'm like, I should be better at this point. But like people are just so good. I'm like, maybe I'm just too old. I don't know if that happened. Something happened to you. But like I don't know.
On this show, we call that graybeard talk, sir. We're not old. We are graybeards.
Graybeard. Oh, so graybeard talk. Yeah, I have got some grey. Yeah, so I classify for that. I guess. Yeah, so I'm like finding myself like dabbling into things like that because it's quite quick. You know, I love little small games like The Artful Escape. I don't know if you guys played that one.
Oh, yes.
Just
excellent.
Like things like that just really capture me. I find. But then, like because I'm a parent and stuff, short games like always like that Artful Escape always seem like pretty, kind of attractive because I don't have a lot of time. So I'm doing stuff like that. I'm picking up like a few little multiplayer games here or there, maybe on like Call of Duty or something like that. But my one game I'm really interested to play, Split Fiction. So that one, most of my audio team played that already. They're like raving about it. So I'm like really interested to play that one when I finish and have a bit of free time.
Well, I'll tell you our chat here knows this, but I'll tell you this because you probably haven't heard it. My journey with Split Fiction's predecessor, It Takes Two.
Yeah.
So I get It Takes Two. I'm playing it with my daughter, and we're playing it. We're going through it. We're having a lot of fun. But then she gets like busy at school or whatever, and so she doesn't have time for a few weekends to play. But my wife, sees us playing, and I finally get her to agree to play a game with me. So I start a new save. I'm not playing over an existing save, we just start from the beginning with the misses, and then my daughter walks in to the room watching us play split fiction, and her jaw drops, and she says, "This was supposed to be our game," and walks out. And then my wife is like, "I don't want anything to do with that drama. That's between y'all." And so ever since then, I have not been able to get either of them to play with me for It Takes Two, and now I have PTSD for split fiction.
Yeah, right.
I have recently bribed my daughter, who still remembers and reminds me of the betrayal, to play to continue the playthrough on It Takes Two, and then we're gonna go to split fiction.
Oh, nice. Oh, that would be good.
That cost me a 1-year Spotify subscription, by the way.
Okay. That's awesome, bro.
I love that.
That is so good.
I do have a question for you though.
Okay.
This is something I should know, Chris. The game just went gold. What does going gold mean in the age of digital?
Oh,
it used to be when you print the disc, you're done.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what you're going to ship. What does it mean now?
I think it means you've got a shippable product. So,
Okay.
like, you know, it's like, yeah, we can release. We have a releasable product. At least that's for me. That's what it means. And I think it also means, like, you know, subsequent patches go through the cert process quicker. That's what I understand. So, like, there's and so I guess it's a big deal. It means, look, we've gone from conception through to having something we can actually put on the stores. But yeah, I'm learning a lot doing this, to be honest. Like, this is my first, I would say this is my first, like, A to Z, like, production. And been doing it since kind of late 2019, kind of early 2020. So it's been like a real interesting, like, experience for me, and there's still so much in game dev that I have to learn. You know, like I feel like, you know, just being honest with that, and like knowing that you can't know everything, and even within my own discipline, there's more things to learn. So I'm very lucky to have like the Xbox audio community and wider community. Just came back from GDC, but like you know, everyone shares. Everyone's so friendly in the Xbox audio group. So there's always people to ask questions to. It's great.
That's awesome. That's great to know.
One of my favorite things about Xbox, just community in general. Everybody, even in the content creation community, everyone has just been so helpful, right? It's like a clique. Everybody invites each other to different people's podcasts. We talk about these things, share, like, you know, inside knowledge about things, about how to do things, software to use. So it's that is one thing you can't take away from Xbox. Much as some people will try, it is that community.
Hey now, be good.
I'll be nice.
Be nice, yes. So one of the first questions that I'm seeing from our community, and actually it's a great question, and it'll dovetail into some of the questions we wanted to ask. Right off the top, great community member Soil Tech asks a great question. He says, "What inspired an African-American story / game from the Deep South coming from a Canadian dev studio?" Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, I can. I mean, our creative director was from there, David Sears, right? So it was he grew up, I think, in I think I want to say Louisiana, but like I need to double check that. But it was either Mississippi or Louisiana, and then still lives down there on and off in North Carolina. But like it was from his mind, right? So initially he came up with this idea, and you know, loosely based on his childhood growing up and kind of the fantasies he would make up going out into to kind of explore the, you know, the, I want to say the outback. It's not really outback down there. It's like kind of, you know, the countryside and getting away from real life, basically. So that's how it kind of came to be from down there, and obviously it's like those experiences, and we were like, okay, so, you know, the game kind of progressed through development, but initially it came from that point of someone who was born and raised from there, and as we went through, you know, I think it became this game that we're doing, you know, like over 5 years, it's these things like basically show themselves. Like the game ends up making itself, and this was and it's something that I also like. Don't take for granted. And go back to what I'm saying about learning, right? So like I'm from England, so even further afield than the Canadian studio. So to answer to the question there, so we make sure we use talk to the right people. Like I wanted to work with performers from down there. Make sure like the music we did had the that musical essence, and because it's different, right? Like I really enjoyed working on this project, and I hope that answers the question a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, that's great. I just one question about that. One thing that just from the publicly released footage, because we're not doing any spoilers, I'm talking about the game. Something I noticed is that there's actually like lead vocals while you're traversing through the game. And I noticed like it sounds like they're talking about whatever's happening in the game. What drove that decision to do that? Because I don't think that I've seen that anywhere where like, yes, games have had original music, but while you're playing it, you've got a lead vocalist talking about what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely a challenge because that's fairly different, right? Like you said, like lyrics and gameplay. Maybe you'd see it happen in an exotic piece once, like think the Ashtray Maze from Control, for instance. But but doing it like systemically across the game is probably not as done. I'm not saying that people don't do it, but like I think for us, what I wanted to do was like establish some kind of knowledge gained, right? So we started off with these. I'll go back a little bit. So initially we were ahead of everyone, right? We don't have much to do as an audio team at the beginning, but we have concept art, right? So in the case of say the chapter that's being released, the Benji tree there, we had like kind of the concept art for this tree. And then we thought, okay, how about, they have the concept art. How about, is it possible to do a concept musical piece, right? So like make a song with lyrics and everything, like produce it. And then from that, derive the level music from the song. Almost in the same ways that they would derive like, say, 3D art props, creatures, etc. From that 2D piece of art. So we tried to do that, and obviously we were lucky to have support of Xbox and stuff to have the budget to do that, because probably that's why it's not done so often. But we had all these concept songs basically, and then we were like, I don't know how we're going to use these songs, but they sound great, but they gave a feeling, right? And then so we had these melodies, and Olivier de Rivière was like the composer we worked with, and he came up with David. He's on screen right now, but David was the kind of the stakeholder which held everything together, really. So made sure that we were aligned with the vision. We would get kind of lyrics would be written. That was the first thing that had to happen, and that would be done from the lore of the creature, which was also available, as well as the 2D art. And then that would be written either David himself or one of the narrative team members, and it was a prose, it wasn't lyrics, right? So then that would go up to David, he would review, he would kind of maybe make some edits or any changes, pass it on to Olivier. He would be inspired by, well, that's an interesting story in the prose, but I've got a melody idea, but it doesn't quite fit with that prose. Go back to David, they would work it out, and then the lyrics would form with this piece of music. So then we had a song. Okay, so then we had all these concept songs, and then go back to your question, it's a bit of a long-winded question. I was like, okay, how do we give this feeling of, as you go through discovering these memories, these traumatic memories, how do I give the feeling of a knowledge gained, like an uncovering of the the trauma of the creature, slowly in pieces, like you do with these narrative beats. And I would thought, okay, well, the melody would start all kind of like obscured and like kind of atmospheric, and slowly the melody would become clearer and clearer until at the end you understood the full song, right? I understood the full trauma or full story of what happened. And we were going to do that in chunks, just like you have. And then I think Olivier came back one day and was like, man, like, why don't we do pieces of the song, like sung after each traumatic memory, but in a dark style, like it's still like some corruption, the music's been corrupted somehow. I was like, oh man, that's really interesting, but lyrics and gameplay, right? And he's like, yeah. I haven't really, is that going to work? I had some doubts. But we put it in. So now you kind of go through, and after every moment you get a recap in song, like a couplet, it could be like a verse or a chorus or a bridge after these memories. And then at the end you have the full song unveiled, either in like a confrontation or a traversal or what that would be. So that became the systemic integration of these songs, and still accomplishes the idea of getting these portions of understanding until you fully understand what happened.
Wow, that is, and that's super interesting. That's a question I was actually going to ask you. It felt like, at least from what we've seen, it felt like it was a vision of an individual to play with music in the way you guys play with music, because it's just so not done, especially using it as almost a character in the game itself. As you traverse, it hits certain beats, and unless you hit a certain threshold, you continues to stay in that mode. And as soon as you traverse to a place where they need you to transition, it then transitions the mood to something else. It's so impactful in the way it's implemented. It's surprising to hear that it happened in succession rather than a vision from someone who thought, I know how this should work. It's super interesting that this is how it turned out. I really wanted to ask that in the first place.
Yeah, no, I mean, but I feel like that's what happens when you're developing a game. You don't really know what you're going to make. Like, and I think it's like ideas completely change, but that I wanted to demonstrate there was some kind of idea of the progression system is what we call it, I think, kind of internally, but like in some way, but that developed, and I think you need to somewhat go with the flow as long as it's still around the creative vision of the creative director. And that's very important for me, is to make sure that the audio vision is in line with the creative vision. And if in the art vision, like Whitney, who did all this beautiful art here, she didn't really go away from her initial pillars at all, and that's why it's so strong. So like I think that's pretty interesting. But there was like an idea, but it was like it became, with lots of brainstorming, it became a thing, But Olivier, I got to give credit to this man. It's like he's made all this music, it's just really incredible. So I'm very lucky to.
I wanted to ask you about him. Absolutely, where his role and your role interjects. I've been listening to the soundtrack. By the way, don't listen to the soundtrack. I mean that not in a bad way, but it's better, in my opinion, when you get it within the frames of the context of what you're, of the story. But yes, I've loved the soundtrack. So I wanted to know, like, obviously a lot of that work came from him and his team. How did you guys interface? Because being that the music is such a strong part of that story, there has to be very strong ties between audio and soundtrack and composition.
Yeah,
it's part of the whole process, I would assume, right?
Yeah, certainly. And so Olivier was, you could say, a composer, right? But he's not just a composer. I call him a technical composer because he's also like into wires and systems. Music design is a huge thing, and he has a team as well, right? It's not just him these days. It's like it's a team of 4 people that work with him. His company's called Amio, but like like it is super integrated into sound. And funny enough, I want to go back on what you said, interestingly, about music became a character, because that is actually what I wanted to happen. I was trying to find what's the what's the sound of magic. First of all, how does magic sound? And then I was like, okay, we came across these, did a bunch of sound design and stuff, and then we kind of fell on these voices. So this is like a choir of children's voices from a local gospel church down in Nashville. And these kids became systemic for magic. So like when you move and do your magic movements, you hear them when you do your combat moves. When you the progression system I just mentioned, right? They're kind of everywhere, and they are the character. They're music as a character, magic as a character, and the music as a character. So that was interesting you picked that up, because that was something we wanted to go for.
I am a music, and people who know, I've been watching the show for a while. I'm a music gamer in general. I've always loved music. I studied music in school, so I'm stuff like Crypt of the Necro Dancer, things like that. Rhythm games really catch my eye, and I'm very, because I don't know, I feel like from a development standpoint, it's very difficult to achieve. I've played games that literally have sequencers built into the game, insane, mind-boggling stuff, right? So how you guys seem to be interfacing the game and the music in a very much in a verbal way, an action-oriented way. It was so surprising to me. It's something that I feel like more games should do. Music has been lifted. It's more than just the backdrop, but you guys elevated it even further than that. So that was super interesting to me in my music production brain. I wonder how much extra material content do you guys have even after that didn't make it to South of Midnight? Well,
we have a lot. Like I don't know the exact number, somewhere between 6 and 8 hours, which is a lot if you consider all the variations, right? Because obviously interactive music, it has a certain amount of stems and it can make different variations. To call back to your your musical roots, one of the other interesting things we have going on, which was something is like, I had this pillar from David. He came back from the South. He was like, I have an epiphany. Action equals musicality. And I was like, oh God, what does that mean? Like, is that a music game? Is that like, what, how do I make that thing? So I had to go away and think about that. And I was like, well, when you press the buttons, you get some kind of musical expression, I guess, but maybe arrhythmical, right? It's not necessarily a music game, but I did even consider it being like on the beat and everything. But we kind of went for a more arrhythmical approach. But the interesting thing is, when you play the game, we have a MIDI system. So in Wise, we use Wise as the middleware, and there is a MIDI track that runs alongside most of the pieces of music, right? And what that does, it works with samplers. So we have a couple of different samplers, I think 2 or 3 samplers of the kids' voices. And, when you press an action, when you're in traversal, let's say, and certain move sets, you will make a call to check what note should be played at that particular point in the backing music, right? And it will say, okay, so you need to play, like right now you need to be playing like an A, let's say. So then it calls to the sampler and it plays the A, and it can play in different like soft, medium or loud expressions. And what that does is that gives you the feeling of like almost making music as you play, right? You can be like jumping around and doing your moves, and you get this melody that's performed on top of the backing track. And that was how I tried to accomplish that kind of challenge that David put down for me of action equals musicality.
Excellent. Now that is very much something you see in at least in everything we've seen so far with the game, and music seems to be a strong focus. It almost seems like it was something that started with music and then everything else built around it. And you peeling back some of the production layers, it's super interesting that maybe that wasn't the case. Let's reposition real quick and take a quick question from our audience. The Great Infinite Umbra asking a question for Chris. Seeing how your position comes with managing so much in South of Midnight between voice acting and the composition of the soundtrack, what was your most engaging aspect for you, sir?
Oh, that's a good one. So I don't. I manage obviously the pillars of audio. In the games, I've decided it's VO, obviously, music, sound effects, and now tech, because I think tech's an important pillar for game audio. There's a lot going on there. But we had like performance directors. Obviously, Ahmed Best was our performance and voice director for, and then we had cinematics director in Seb Dussault, who was like working for animation studio Agora, and then we had obviously animation directors as well. So these people were all on the set. Mike Youngbluth is our animation director. So all these people were working with the actors in the PCAP stages to capture those performances, and then it was more my job to kind of manage like the integration of those voices and performances. And obviously there's some pacing work that everyone has suggestions, right? But like I've got to give props to these wonderfully talented people that got these performances, because it does seem from early days that the performances are getting called out, which is great, and these actors are fantastic actors. So yeah, that just wanted to lay that down, that there was these people involved, and I wasn't involved with say necessarily like doing all of the voice and everything, but sound effects and music, working with Olivier, I gotta say, it's really hard. Ambiences were really fun because we sent people down there to record in Louisiana. I did a little bit of research to remind myself, but it was like Lake Fosse Point, Lake Phelia, and then this really hard one to say, Atchafalaya. So these places in Louisiana. I'm not sure if I said that right. But
Atchafalaya,
Atchafalaya. Yeah.
So you're good. Yeah.
So Andy Martin, we went down there, and he just camped down there, right, in these swamps, different times of the year, so you get different kind of like active nature and versus quiet. And then we sent Thomas Rex Beverly to the mountains, Smoky Mountains, Daniel Boone National Forest, which I also visited, by the way, in Tennessee, as well as some places in Kentucky. So we got all these wonderful soundscapes, and that was so, and it wasn't just like getting the quads, getting the beds or the ambience, but also parabolically, like recording like katydids and like tree frogs and baby alligators and all these sounds that we could place in 3D in the world. That was definitely a highlight for me, other than obviously going to the music, which also was really, like, from a music background too, an incredible experience, like being able to go and visit Nashville, the RCA studio, and then record at Abbey Road. I mean, these things as music production background are just incredible experiences personally. So I think that was got to be the top, and then maybe just working with these fantastic field recordists and seeing and capturing the actual grounded sound of the South was probably a close second there.
So I have a separate question as someone who writes and edits comic books. I can. One thing I know that they say editing is the art of killing your children, and so is there any sort of song or specific sounds or just overall music that you just thought was amazing, but it just didn't fit the game, and so it had to be cut? And what was your emotional process in dealing with that?
So
he's asking for a friend, I'm sure.
Yeah, perfect. There wasn't anything cut. I feel like every piece that was made, and this is really interesting because it's something that I've learned, and I feel is interesting to talk about what you said about like editing, and like too much editing and too much iteration kills an idea. So, like, I think we try to capture the initial idea and retain that as much as possible, right? So for me, inspiration strikes, and often you have lightning in a bottle, and you can tip some of that lightning out by messing with it. So we try to keep the initial ideas, and we did lots of different versions of that. but really it was down to, the song would be made after the process I mentioned earlier about the lyrics and then the music, and then the song would be made, and it would go to David, creative director, and he would thumbs up or down. He didn't really thumbs down. There was a couple of times he would say, "Oh, could we maybe look at that?" to Olivier, but that was between him and Olivier. There was some alterations during the production of certain bits of lyrics and things like that, but really it was like it was at the beginning it was what it was, and because it was to the creature lore, it kind of made sense. So that would be the answer to that. And I do think like sometimes you don't know. It's hard to be objective in music because everyone has a different opinion in it, right? So as long as everyone's not saying like alarms are on, then you just leave it alone. If you got one, people will keep coming to me sometimes with queries, or is this the right voice for this? Is this the right tone for this? Is this the right instrument for this? And I was like, I think we just leave it. I feel like if it makes you feel good, if it evokes an emotion in you, then that's probably good. And if it evokes an emotion of love and hate, that's also good. If it's somewhere where you're like, it's all right, is that going to have an emotional impact? I think that's probably, something to rework at that point.
Yeah. To speak quickly to the emotional impact, you guys released a soundtrack, a music video to a song, and vocalists. I forget the name of that, and I won't do it justice. I might find the footage and put it up real quick to let people see it. But man, oh man, that subject matter and the music and like that emotion, even in that sound, I have a feeling it perfectly crystallizes what the experience is in South of Midnight as far as the storytelling and the delivery. I wonder, and maybe this might be a question that you might not be able to answer for us, being that you are more on the audio side of the house, but I have to ask it anyway. I wonder how that decision was made to tackle such some could consider difficult subject matter,
I mean,
musically and actually just in general, it just seems very fraught with peril.
I would have to defer that to the narrative department, really, because they're the ones that wrote all the lore and the stories and everything, and we were the ones to kind of take what was written and put that to music. So I mean that's kind of my answer to that, really. Like and you work with what you have, and we had some very good stuff to work with, right? And then maybe that's why the music's so strong.
Yeah, excellent. Another question real quick from the community, and I'll let you go, Mr. Everborn. And this one is from the great Luke Lore, Xbox Expansion Pass. He asks, how much of the soundtrack and Compulsion Games' flair versus research done from the Gothic South? How much of that did you guys take liberties with? And to expand on that, and I mean not just the soundtrack, obviously the soundtrack as well, and the music and the sounds and all that, but how much of that is historical reference points being reused for newer audiences versus taking inspirations and creating new in that world?
So something that I wanted was to create original. Well, I go back to David. So David said, firstly, he said, I don't want music. And we were like, what does that mean? Again, so that's the other thing, constantly challenges laid down. And I think what he meant was, I don't want traditional scores, right? So he wanted songs. That's how we interpreted that. And he also, I want melodies that I can hum, I can sing in the shower. Memorable melodies was important to him. And so that kind of led us into these kind of this more song approach, melodies, themes, and many of them, as well as something to follow the protagonist Hazel and her story and journey. I completely forgotten the question. Sorry, can you just remind me of the question?
Basically, Luke is asking, while some of the game's flair that you see seems to be, he wants to know whether the flair that you see in musically is something that was created to kind of create inspiration from that Deep South, or was it literally pulled from certain sources from a historical reference.
Right. Sorry about that, Luke. Yeah. So essentially, so with that, wanted to make something that had its own identity to South of Midnight. I didn't want to mandate or give playlists and things to our composer Olivier so he would copy it and do a sound alike, like a sound like of Skip James, because like doing that, you're never gonna get the same quality. It'll be like, yeah, this quality, this is what we want, and then someone goes and does it, but we're not from there. We don't have that same influences and lived experience, so you're not going to come out with, it will be like Skip James light or worse potentially, right? So I was like, let's make our own original songs inspired by the Deep South, but with a twist, because this is our own world, this world of like Prospero and stuff, like so we had the ability to make something that hopefully would be timeless and would be linked to the game. It would be iconic to the game. So we did go with being inspired by lots of genres from the Deep South. There's many down there, but not really pulling any particular, like, we're going to copy, Reverend Gary Davis, or we're going to go for Mississippi John Hurt or something like that. It was really more a blanket inspiration so that we could have original songs that were iconic just for South of Midnight. And then apart from, so we had this kind of twisted version, and then we anchored that with those field recordings from the South. So that sounds like the South, but with this kind of twisted kind of original music on top. Yeah.
Awesome. I gotta say, my favorite character you guys have ever created, like this is on my, like, one of my great characters, Shaky Bones. Oh man. I love that character. It's just the music, the swag, the style, unbelievable. Everborn, you had a question.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is something you should be able to answer it. What, like, we just talked about audio inspiration, but was there any sort of game inspiration like that you guys looked at when creating this? It does feel very different, but is there any, are there any other games that like you looked at and helped inspire what you guys created here?
And to that, to even further in that line, Mr. MJ Dark, the great MJ Dark, asked that question again a little further. Did South of Midnight have any kind of inspirations from something like The Nightmare Before Christmas with the stop motion and influences, things like that?
Yeah. So, oh my god, I can give you some references that aren't games, because they're on top of my mind.
Excellent.
But stuff like Pan's Labyrinth so Guillermo del Toro was a little bit in there for sure. There was lots of the Southern Gothic literature and film, black and white films playing with shadow, like Night of the Hunter, for instance. So the shadow play, the melodrama was there, and obviously with Pan's Labyrinth, kind of the that kind of magic in the modern day, and Guillermo del Toro's kind of like horror in a way, which is kind of inspirational for some of the Haints. So we kind of started off with that. Game wise, I think we knew it was going to be a linear game, which I was happy with, because for audio that's great because you have complete control. So often with games, we've got these really big open world games, and like it's still it's fantastic that other audio teams can get such great sounding stuff, but more in a systemically delivered way. But for us, a short game, linear, is like, okay, this is gonna be great. But it was, like kind of talked about like kind of a wide linear, so we would have some exploration around the edges, and exploration was pretty important for David C as the creative director at the beginning. And that goes back to his experiences exploring outside his back garden. He wanted that kind of experience. So that was kind of what we had. I think I'm not sure if Nightmare Before Christmas was a direct reference, although I can see how it would work. I think we had the animation team had an art team had come up with this, like the stop motion idea after like, and then they went to visit Clyde Henry, which is a local stop motion studio, and looked at the maquettes and went, oh, could we maybe get that feeling in the props and even on the faces of the character, like the thumb marks in the animation as you go through. So there was a lot of like research done on that front. I'm sure there were game references. Okay, I've got one. So definitely something like, like Tomb Raider, or but even we had other ones like Flower, because at the beginning we had, like, this is to show how far a game can go. At the beginning is like we had a bunch of references of what could work, and over time the game starts to make itself and it starts to form in a way that might not be exactly like the original audio direction or exactly like the original game or creative direction even. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question.
No, that's
definitely. One other question that I had that was super exciting about this,
and this might be some of our last questions, because we have to be respectful of the man's time. Please go ahead.
Hopefully it's a good question. What was it like working with Ahmad and the rest of the mocap and voice acting team, and how does that interact with the way that you contribute to the project? Like how much do you get to work with the voice actors and mocap performers?
I mean,
by the way, just before you answer, why I'm asking about Ahmad specifically, because if you are a Star Wars fan and if you know the prequels, you will know that Ahmad did the mocap and performance for Jar Jar Binks and a lot of other mocap work throughout his career. So if you're interested in stuff, he is like
OG. I mean, incredible. Like I gotta say, like and going back, I didn't work directly on set with him, right? So I have a dialogue designer who would go and make sure that like things would be respected in terms of like, say, lines needed and things like that. But really, the narrative team and the cinematics team were had it all under control with production. But I did hang out with them and met them a few times. And Ahmed, just like Ahmed, he's great. Like such a fantastic individual, loads of stories, and I really think that he helped bring the acting to the next level, along with the great actors and their performances. And we had this really interesting thing, because we started off with we wanted to try and get everything off the floor, right, audio wise, but early on we had done like 1 or 2 PCAP sessions, and then Adrian, who was doing the full performance capture, became pregnant, and she couldn't continue that role, obviously, right? So then we had to go to a more like a kind of a hybrid role, where we got Nona in to do the performance, and then we would basically dub Nona's performance with Adrian. So that in audio that posed a few challenges, right? Because like you have a certain cadence established in the PCAP off the floor that then has to be replicated with a different voice, and that was an interesting journey, and something that I think Adrian really nailed. So interesting tidbit there.
So I think we're rounding the end of our segment with you, because we have to obviously be respectful of your time. Is there anything that you want the audience to be left with as we're getting into the launch period of the game? Things that they should be looking out for. I will tell you that we here have been excited for this game for a long time. We've been talking about it. So this is the culmination for a lot of excitement for us. So anything you want the public to know that they should be taking away while they're preparing for the launch of South of Midnight?
I feel like I just want people to have fun playing it, and to have hopefully a different experience to other things that are currently out there. As you said, there's so many games, so hopefully we tried to make something that made you feel a little bit different to other games, that you're playing, and also give you an experience that like is completable in a short amount of time, especially for a parent like me. I love these types of things. I don't know if there's a trend in the industry right now for shorter games, but you know that is something that I'd love to make another short game. Yeah, I feel like, I hope it makes you feel, it gets you in the feels, you know, like I really feel like you come away from it, you know, like feeling like, oh, that really touched me, you know. I hope you love the music. I hope people like want to like cover the music. I love to see people like come out with loads of covers and stuff. I think that would be fun because they're songs, they are playable. And I'll be interested to see what happens there. The game's about 10 to 12 hours, let's say. So I think it's yeah.
I would just like to say, Chris, I appreciate you and Compulsion for making a game that is 10 to 12 hours, because if we look at the amount, we joked about too many games in the beginning, but like personally at this stage in life, I appreciate a game that has a beginning, middle, and end, and knows what it wants to be, and is not just sending me on fetch quests to do things. And I really appreciate that. I think it's a great time. And you said something about like hoping people feel something. I'm going to tell you right now, this is not Chris saying this. This is me saying this. If you don't feel anything when you play this game, then you're dead inside. That is not Chris. That is me.
Spoilers, sir. Spoilers.
No spoiler. I'm just saying you're going to feel something. That's it.
Yes. What will you feel? How will you feel it?
Yes, you more at 11.
We'll talk about that.
Find that out at a certain time. But you guys, it's great work.
Yes, absolutely. So say we all. I think. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for being here. This game, we here on this show have been excited for subject matter of this type for a long time. We've wanted, more voices to speak in this way for a long time. So we're biased, completely biased. Like, I'll tell you now, we love that the games like this exist in general. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you have an awesome, successful launch. And please check in with us. We'll love to have you back anytime. We appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Early access April 3rd, and then the full game's out on the 8th on Game Pass and everything, as well as I think it's available on Steam on PC as well. So yeah, I'd love to people to play it. I've been pleasure. This is my first live podcast, so hopefully I didn't muck it up, but it was a pleasure.
It's been an honor. This is great. Yeah, I think you did. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for being with us. This was excellent. I couldn't ask for more.
Oh, well, honor on my side too. Love what you guys do.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.
And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Bye.
Thank you guys so much for having him here, man. This was awesome. So that was Chris Fox, ladies and gentlemen. I know there were some questions that folks wanted to ask. Some stuff like that. We weren't able to ask every question. I saw some of the stuff in the chat. Thank you guys so much for all the awesome questions you asked. There are a few gifts we're going to give away because of some of the folks that asked questions. We actually, believe it or not, now have 4 codes to give away. Shout out to the great MJ Dark, who provided premium code. Yes, he provided a premium code for South of Midnight, and that's obviously Xbox Play Anywhere. So salute to MJ Dark for that awesome contribution. But yes, we'll be going through the show, and what we some of the folks that already asked the good questions. I will ask you to send me towards the end of the show. I'll do that. I'll ask you to send me your Steam invite, a Steam profile, and I will gift you South of Midnight. Now, we're specifically doing that on Steam because, if you're on Game Pass, you probably have access to it yourself. If you prefer a Game Pass premium code instead, let me know. We'll do that instead. No worries. But yeah, man, thank you guys so much for rocking with us as you have. And thanks to Compulsion and Chris for joining us. This was awesome. But all right, we shall move on. Mr. Everborn Saga, sir, I know that we have been playing the game we are not allowed to talk about. We're going to be doing a bit more of a deep dive in that game sooner rather than later. But have there been any other games, any other gaming, just off the rip? I know you just finished. You finished last week when we spoke. You finished Blasphemous 2.
Yes.
And then you veered into
the whole situation.
Yeah. Now, beyond that, I know there are some games you were playing that we can't talk about, but anything else that you've been playing through before we get into some of the light stories going around in the world today?
Well, last week we had our amazing chat just doing an Oprah moment and just giving away games, but also recommending a lot of games. So I learned about quite a few games last week, and I picked up maybe 3 or 4 games this week. Played a few of them.
I love a round of us, man. That's great.
So the first one I want to talk about, because last week I made a claim that we see Metroidvanias everywhere these days. Can't throw a rock without hitting a Metroidvania, but there's nothing that has like stages like a Mario or a Sonic game. You know, you jump on the head of an enemy, things like that. And someone recommended a game called Anton Blast.
I remember it.
Now, if you grew up in the 90s and you remember Ren and Stimpy, or you remember Pinky and the Brain, or you remember Two Stupid Dogs, or you remember Doug, or you remember Cat Dog.
Oh, Doug.
Right?
Doug.
Or maybe you remember the Tasmanian Devil show where he's with his parents and the father with the blah, 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 yakety smackety. You remember this game.
Of course I do.
Is all of that. It is all of that in a 2D platformer that is made in the style of I don't want to oversimplify it and call it like a Mario or Sonic, because it is very much its own thing. And as you see there, it plays a lot with the foreground and background, but there's it's voice acted. You have like a cartoon that plays in the beginning of it. The level design is really interesting and fun, and it really feels like something you would have played in the 90s, and they do a fantastic job of it. I cannot recommend.
Love the parallax stuff they're doing.
That's what I'm saying.
Cool.
They
like
do
that.
Foreground and background. They do a lot of that. So like it's really good. I think I got it on CD keys for like $7.49. I don't know what you can get it on. It's available everywhere: Steam, Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, all that. But like if you remember that era, you can see it in the art style here. If you remember this time, like, you know, it just screams like The Mask, all that kind of stuff. So like I cannot recommend this enough, especially if you grew up in the 90s or if you just appreciate a good 2D platformer. Definitely check this out.
Real quick, because you bring this up, I feel like we should have a little bit of a pause and have some quick graybeard talk here. Because with the Nintendo Direct that came not too long ago, like I think it was a couple of days ago, they did show off a few other games that also kind of spoke to that energy, right? The Shredder's Revenge, that style of game, that the game you remember from old that has been remade, that your mind's eye remembers fondly, like it makes me wonder, and it brought up the conversation we were talking about on Discord, and I feel like we should at least bring it up a little bit here. Is it time for vendors and or publishers to prioritize like these retro things? Like, are we? I know that we talk a lot that we are no longer the target audience for the mainstay of gaming, but I think there's a strong case to be made that there's a subset genre within the mainstay, the graybeard genre, if you will, the retro contingent, if you will, where all of these can just kind of be remade. There's the 80s contingent, the 90s contingent, the early 2000s. There's so much content there, right? Is it not time for them to like prioritize these kinds of things where you say Doug and like 100 people go, oh yeah, I remember Doug. You know what I mean?
I mean, it isn't just that, right? We say all the time, like the Ubisofts, the EAs, the Activision, I guess you would call them Xbox now or whatever. Maybe. Anyway, I won't get into that. But the point is, a lot of, you see Sega doing a focus on bringing back things like Golden Axe and Jet Set Radio and things like that. And especially in this 2D era, like you can have like small hit squad teams or even like farm it out to some good indie developers. Sega does that a lot to where like when was the last time we got a good Rayman game, right? it relatively low cost
on mobile, probably recently. We
sure,
don't know.
but like relatively low cost, high recognizability. Another one, see, Shinobi by
Shinobi.
Legacy. This is the kind of thing I think there's
the double dragon game you and I were fawning over last year. Yeah.
So do these things sell 10 million copies? Probably not, but they maybe don't need to sell 10 million copies. If
they also don't cost 250 million to make, you know.
So this is the kind of thing where, our demographic may be dwindling in favor of, a larger, younger demographic, but like we're suckers for this stuff. Like Cosmic Invasion that they showed at the Switch showcase. Lost my mind. Like
that's exactly what I was talking about.
I don't even know. Like I don't even care how much that costs. They can just have the credit card number, send me the game, inject it in my veins. We'll do a payment plan. It doesn't matter. They can charge whatever they want for stuff like that. Even Nintendo, please remake Link to the Past. You can have all the money, right? And so
here, my money, take it.
But yeah, they absolutely should be like dedicated. Like, but I mean, we do have a publisher that does this specifically, which is Dotemu. Yeah, this is just what they do. They make retro games, and they seem to be doing very well. So
I guess my question is, how long will Dotemu have this whole place to themselves? I feel like this should be a crowded market by now, where everyone is trying to find that next thing that the graybeard remembers to go, remember this? Member berries is a strong thing. Why has there not been more?
And again, as it has been shown, people don't mind doing it if you do it in 2D. It doesn't have to be this big 3D $100 million thing. So
turnaround is relatively short. Financial investment is relatively short, and you get all the monies because the graybeards are like, yes, please, may I have some more?
The only philosophical thing is like we could be calling for this, but I do think it would potentially negatively affect a lot of indie developers who make these kinds of games. So like remember, like the game you're watching right now could be anything, but it's gonna get all the attention because it has these franchise characters. So like maybe we shouldn't like praise that on because the little guy.
What you're saying is that we are slaves of Marvel, and as such we're going yay.
I mean, it's
because
not
they're showing Marvel characters.
Right. Ninja Turtles, everything else. It's it's all those things. So maybe the balance we have is good. I do think we need more Dotemus, but like I do like the idea that like you're getting indie developers making most of the games like this, and then every once in a while the big guys come in and use their IP to do these things. Now, not to get too held up, the other game that I picked up, this game right now, CD keys $3, and I want to shout out Infinite Umbra for this.
Oh yeah, Wavetail.
Wavetail is, think of Wind Waker, Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, but voice acted, and you get to surf instead of being in a boat. Right? You can walk, run, and surf on water.
You had me at surf.
Right? It's all about the traversal. The combat is really tight. The only thing I would say is, and I'm not super far into it, so I want to see the combat get a little bit more complex, like with the enemies that you face, because right now that seems like an afterthought. The enemies themselves, and it kind of portrays how good the combat feels, like the movement of the character, and so. But again, I'm only in it a little bit, but you can see here what the traversal is like. You go from
that is beautiful. I love it. That water physics, boy. These games like this live and die by water physics. This looks great.
Yeah, and I'll say this: you haven't seen anything until she jumps out of the water, like in the middle of a wave, because the physics on the water also help you jump higher and things like that.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah.
And so it's just it's really well made, and again, you cannot go wrong for $3, right? so I only got a chance. I only got a little bit of time to put into it. But from the little bit that I did play, it's super well done, and don't walk, run. Oh, also on handheld, 6 TDP. You can run this in silent mode and be good, solid.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. I can't tell you anything more, but I will say South of Midnight runs also very well on handheld. 6 TDP. Oddly enough, it runs very well.
Well, there you have it.
Anyway, no, this is good. I've been wanting to play this. Like when you recommended I pick it up, I picked it up right away. I just have not been able to like put down some of the games that I've been playing, so I haven't, like, these guys are just waiting in the wings. But yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. I love the the water. It's hard to do, to get it smooth and feeling,
But it's the
really
way
hard
you
to
can go into the water at any time. Like, it's not just oh, look at this water. It's nice. Like, you can interact and jump in the water. Also, there's some other things that I picked up that I do want to let people know about. This was also recommended last week. Mayhem Brawlers. If you like, that up a little bit.
Mayhem Brawlers is awesome.
If you like Street Rage 4, if you like sort of dude bro action comic book, this is it. It's very good if you're into that.
And part 2 of Mayhem Brawlers is coming out soon. The demo for part 2 is actually on Steam right now. You could play it, but part 2 isn't officially out yet. But the first part is dang good. If people haven't played it, it's definitely something that you should be making part of your library. It's basically like your old comic love. It's exactly like you remember. Let me put some footage of it on the screen real quick.
By the way, Steelofax asked if you can go under the water and wave tail. You can, like, while you're surfing, you can dip below the water and use the physics of the water to push you up to jump really high. But it's not like you can swim to the ocean floor or anything like that.
It's like dolphin-like kind of propulsion.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Cool.
One other game that I already played this, but I picked it up to add it to the library because I never played the DLC. But High on Life and High on Knife, you can get right now on CD keys for $13. This would cost you 60 some odd dollars if you bought it regularly, but $13 CD.
Wow, I actually loved High on Life. Didn't play High on Knife, so maybe I might do that.
This is why I got it. Like I loved
High on Life was hilarious, like unusually so. Like, people need to play that game if you haven't. It's so good. It's so funny. Yeah.
Another one is Another Crab's Treasure. I think I picked that up for about $7. It's a Souls-like.
That game will kick your butt. It'll kick your butt. It's funny. I think maybe that's what, like, and I was talking to some of the guys in the Discord about that. That's what maybe some people didn't connect with. It has really caught the zeitgeist of the Souls-like community, but because it looks the way it looks, it's kind of deceptive in its cutesiness, and then you play it and it kicks your butt really bad and you never pick it up again. Like my son tried to play that game because it looks really cute and kid friendly. He had nightmares for like a week after that because they just wouldn't leave him alone. They kept beating up the crab. It was a whole thing. Needless to say, great game, fun game.
Yeah. So Another Crab's Treasure is in Game Pass, but if you just want to add it to your library, $7.
Cheap. Yeah.
BT Maverick asked me if I've tried Ender Lilies. I have not heard of this. Have you?
Ender Lilies. The name sounds familiar, but I haven't played it. Let me quickly. Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say, let me quickly look at some of the footage. As soon as I saw the cover, I think I do remember seeing this before. Let me put some of this on the screen here and let people see it. But yes, so Ender Lilies. I remember this. This was what, a few years back, no? It's another roguelike, as you can imagine. Has that style.
Or a Metroidvania?
Metroidvania. My bad.
Told you can't throw a rock without hitting one.
Without hitting them, that's right. And it does have a little bit of that, like, almost Ori kind of vibe to it, as well as what do you call it? The OG. What's the name of that game? Xbox Live OG.
Xbox Live Arcade.
Yeah. the OG that basically created the genre, in my humble opinion. Do you remember the name of the game?
I mean, Castlevania and Metroid created the genre, but
but in modern parlance, I would actually say it's
you mean like Fez or Super Meat?
Not Fez. Oh God, now you're gonna make me no talking. You're a little boy. You know.
Inside.
Thank you. Limbo actually was what I was.
Limbo. Okay. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
To me, in the modern times, in the modern iteration of all these Metroidvanias, like it is Limbo that is a very big, very big inspiration on them. But yes, and Tunic. Yes, Tunic. By the way, did you ever finish Tunic? By the way,
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
It was so good. I love that game.
I didn't like the stamina system for the dodge. And so I'm always in the middle of the combat running out of stamina to dodge, and people chase you. So it's not like you can leave a room and wait for your stamina to come back. So I was just, and I heard you could turn that off in the accessibility settings, but I didn't want to do that. So it's just like the game became more of a chore because but it's a beautiful game, and I've bought it. I've double dipped on that game, even though it was in Game Pass. I bought it just because I had been following a lot of that developer's dev.
That one developer, yeah. Me too.
So he taught me a lot of stuff about Unity, just following his process. So I definitely supported the game in every way that I could, right? But I just couldn't get over that stamina system. But maybe I'll go back and turn off the dodge.
You should. What I considered brilliant about it was more the secrets of the game. Like there are some games that have like just magical systems.
Covering the manual for the game almost, right?
Like remember some of the ideas.
Full color manuals from the Nintendo games and things like this. Just
look, and people will know what I'm talking about when I say this. You know, not everybody's about it, but if you are, you know what I'm talking about. To me, games like Fez, games like Inside, games like what you're describing, these most recently Animal Well, single developers that put secrets and just whimsical and wonder in their games. It's just Death's Door, right? Like it's these are the indie triple I would consider them fair that I really gravitate towards. So no, I really love that. That's cool. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So okay, let us move on. I don't have too much to discuss as far as what I have been playing.
Sorry, really quick. Tiger King brings up Death's Door, one of the greatest sort of.
He wasn't listening to me. I just said that 2 seconds ago.
Okay, I'm sorry. No, I was reading
also
email that just
Rogue Legacy. Yes. Also, Rogue Legacy is very good. Like if you don't remember the Rogue Legacy 1 and 2, actually, Everborn, I actually challenge you to play Rogue Legacy. Much like Blasphemous 1 and 2, it has the same trajectory. The first one was singularly genius. The second one iterated on the formula and people have questions about it. It's literally the same line of Blasphemous 1 and 2 to Rogue Legacy 1 and 2. Also considered to be one of the best roguelikes out there. You should definitely play that. Roguelikes. It's a roguelike.
Because it's called Rogue Legacy, right?
Exactly. But you have to play it. It's very good. I mean, and of course, it's an old game, so you can definitely like get it for very cheap these days. So like, it's definitely something you should be playing. It's very special. I beat the whole game on a plane flight to like Europe, 16 hours or something once. Great game. Anyway, so let us move on. But of course, people want to talk more about games. So we'll keep talking about games. There's some things going on. We can talk about how PlayStation has a bunch of awesome Xbox games now being all like the most anticipated games on the whole platform. Like we can talk about that. We can talk about there's a lot to talk about. But I think I do want to stick to games for now. Have you played 33 Immortals, sir?
Absolutely
Lucius Augustus is asking if we've played it because you weren't with us. We played a little bit of it last night. Just a little bit of it, like about 10 minutes of it, 15 minutes of it. I've been part of the beta program, and now it officially released. So the guys were in the Discord. I needed a palate cleanser, and they were like, "Hey, we'll jump in there." It is unusually fun, man. Like even you and me, who are not big on multiplayer games, I have a feeling this is the multiplayer game for us, sir. It's quite special of an experience. It's just fun and it's just engaging enough to keep you engaged with the content, but not engaging enough to where you can't have a great chat with your people on Discord. I feel like that may be our move from now on when we're having like introspective conversation. As of right now, if I understand correctly, you can only build teams of 4, which kind of, negates the 33 immortals idea. But as I've heard it, every time the dev team have asked what the community wants, the first thing they say is they want to be able to roll with 33 people. So wait, that may be a future.
It's teams of 4. It's multiple teams of 4.
Multiple teams of 4, about 33 in an instance.
Okay, but it is not like just 4 people and 29.
No, so
like
it's multiple teams of 4, up to 33 in one instance. So there's 33 immortals in the instance, but each instance has multiple teams of 4, right? Okay. And what we're hoping they will do is eventually grow that instance to be able to be 33 people. So your team can be the entire 33. That'd be awesome. Okay. Can you imagine a whole Discord server dedicated, the GCP server, if you will, because there's 33 people running around in there. Very fun game. Who
publishes this game?
This is actually published by, is it a Microsoft published game? I know it's Microsoft what do you call it? Not published. Microsoft PR, marketing and funded. Yeah. I'm not sure if they are also publishing it as well. I do know that it's, for some reason, one reason or another, not on PlayStation right now. It is on Steam. Oh yeah, Thunder Lotus. Thank you. Thunder Lotus, the great Swedish publisher. It is not on Steam right now. It is on Epic and it's on Xbox. So on their platform and by way of Epic Store on PC and of course the Windows Store as well. So far no Steam. So it's one of those odd situations, but I gotta say, had a little bit of time with it with the brothers in the chat yesterday. I think it's something worth playing. Would you think to join us at some point?
We'll see.
Why do we even bother? Huh? Why do we even bother? It's a fun game. I think more people should play.
Don't say I'm not on brand.
I will say all this to say, ladies and gentlemen, as you hear more news about this game come out, when you eventually hear that they are now allowing 33 people to join, that is then your move to join us in the Discord, because we will be doing that stuff. We will roll 33 deep. It was real fun last night. We couldn't roll in the whole squad because it's teams of 4, but as they grow that, and hopefully they will, that's definitely something we will be doing. Let me quickly catch up on a couple super chats here, and then we'll continue on. MJ Dark, the great MJ Dark, he was here with his member chat for 14 months. He says, hello, K, and Ever Bandit Backlog Saga. Jesus. All right.
You got it backwards, sir. It's not Bandit Backlog. It's the Backlog Bandit.
I know, right? Like, okay. Shout out to Compulsion and love the soundtrack. How did you choose the soundtrack for the boss fight? We actually spoke about that. We did talk to him, and he did describe the choices that they made for that purpose. So thank you for your contribution in the super chat. Thank you. And of course, the great Sith Lord with a $2 super chat. He says South of Midnight is my most anticipated game of 2025. Sir, I think you're going to love that game. I think you're going to enjoy it. It's an interesting game. I'm looking forward to really giving you all my thoughts about it sooner rather than later. But okay, let us before we get out of here, because I don't want to go too far this week. But I did want to stop and talk a bit about this whole PlayStation thing, because people have been screaming in the Discord. Like, it's been a whole thing, as you know. And what brought it about? I'll tell you what brought it about. This brought it about. Specifically, Forza, right? And there's been so much digital ink spilt about Forza and about all the games that are there. I know, Mr. Everborn Saga, you have been taking a break from the socials, and as such, you may not know that if you check now, it seems like PlayStation's platform is inundated with top tier coming soon Xbox games, and they're all basically top tier, like the number one reviewed pre-ordered game, Forza and all these other games. So now, of course, the narrative is, well, I thought the games were bad, but it sounds like the games aren't that bad. Are we over? Can this finally be over now? Since their games are there, obviously PlayStation gamers are going to love it because these are great games. Can we now just go, it was fun while it lasted, we're just moving on? Or is this just right back to the same narrative? What are your thoughts here?
What do you mean, Forza going to PlayStation?
No, not Forza specifically. I'm just talking about the fact that most of the popular games on PlayStation now, the most pre-ordered games are all, well, most Xbox games. Can this now can this issue be put to bed?
Yeah, but I mean, we can put this issue to bed, and then we'll just move to another goalpost, right? Like, so, you know, this is the nature of the discourse. But I mean, it is interesting to see these sort of Microsoft published games across the board. But I mean, Forza was a mega hit before PlayStation, right? I think they had like 44 million players. And we can't say that's all Game Pass, because Game Pass, as far as we know, has 30-something million, right? So where did the rest of them come from? And that's assuming everyone on Game Pass played Forza. So no, I think it's great for this game, and I think it'll be great if we can see Indiana Jones chart. And I mean, when you are the largest or one of the largest publishers in the world, this is what you would expect, right? So I think the third party publishing plan is working. Now, does it come at the expense of something else? We'll see, because but. I mean, I think it's good, and I think it does, as you say, put the narrative to rest that people don't like these games. So, it also says that if so many people are liking these games, once it comes to their sort of preferred platform, would they ever have gone? Right, you had a lot of years.
Why they did what they did, right? Kind of speaking.
You had a lot of years to go and buy and play Forza in a lot of avenues, whether it was the cloud, whether it was PC, and whatever. And when you see this now, you really have to think, how long would they have to have gone the traditional route to get what percentage of that base, and would it have been worth it, right? Because there's an argument to be made that didn't matter what you do, they wouldn't have you wouldn't have got these people, or you wouldn't have got them in any numbers that justified the money you left on the table.
Yeah, true.
And
Big Mad Mo, real quick, member for 14 months, he says 33 Immortals is fire, and also can't wait to get my hands on Towerborn next month. Shout out to Asante Everborn Saga. Xbox invades enemy territory. I love that hashtag. That is hilarious. By the way, Towerborn, I am also very excited for. That seems like that's going to be the next, along the same lines of like very community friendly. Everybody jump in, play, and that game, like I got a small chance to play that game also at Gamescom. Like, really fun. I'm looking forward to it as well. I know you bought it on Steam, right, Everborn? You paid for Towerborn a little earlier, right?
That was just out of protest. That was a protest buy. No, I'm joking. No,
Jesus.
I wanted to support the devs. What can I say?
Sure.
but I did. I like the setup of the game. I like the art style. I love me a good beat 'em up. I don't know that a Castle Crashers style beat 'em up works as a gas game. And I've like it. I felt like I'm fighting. I picked the class that I like. I try to upgrade that class just to get loot, and I'm not a fan of that loop. And so I'd prefer if a game like that had an actual campaign before they went into the end game, and it feels like the whole thing is the end game. The whole thing is a loot grind. And I don't like when I play Diablo, I play whatever the story campaign is, and I don't care about the end game is because I'm not grinding. I get out of work. I'm not clocking into work for a game, right? So I'd like to see that the something like Towerborn have a proper campaign, and I'd play that, but doesn't matter. They already got my money, so it just didn't really. Yeah. I played it early access on the Xbox when they had the beta there, and then I played the early access on Steam, and so now I think they're doing a third early access, which is back on Xbox, which is you said it, not me, but yes,
it's weird. It's weird.
But we'll see. I'll check in again. I do this a lot with early access games. Like, okay, you had a good trailer. I support the vision. Let me see what you got. Okay, I'll come back every few months to see. But I really want to play games when they're 1.0.
Yeah,
right?
Me too.
It's the same thing for No Rest for the Wicked. Looks fantastic. Played for the early access. Played it. Put it down because I want to see what the final vision is. I want to see when you get to the Baldur's Gate 3 phase, when you worked out all the kinks, and then you can put it out and everybody loves it.
Yeah.
So I'll check in on Towerborn again. It's not really for me right now. Not with all these other games coming out.
I agree. So before we move on, I wanted to take a quick. It's not. We don't have to go too far into it, but this happened, and I thought it was cool, so I wanted to bring it up. Did you hear that Game Informer has returned?
I did not hear this.
Yeah, they back, son, and they come with all of their previous reporting staff and the writing staff and all of that. They let them go. That's the interesting story, sir. I double clicked on this story and I went down a rabbit hole that I went very interesting.
Did you do a control F to look for IGN?
No, it was not them.
Oh, sorry, Ziff Davis.
No, it's not a Ziff Davis purchase. It looks like a tech bro, a European tech bro, bought them. Well, didn't buy them. Didn't buy them. Let me make it absolutely clear. And what he did so far, and I know very little about him, but it seems very cool what he did. So he bought the IP, like the name Game Informer, and gave it to them. And now they own it, and they're able to do it without necessarily having to be beholden to GameStop and all of that, like they used to be, right? But this tech bro from Europe, I'm not well versed in some of the technologies, the tools that got him to where he did, but in so doing, he also has started his own studio, has multiple locations, and has a free to play. I'm not sure if it's free to play yet, but a gas game multiplayer shooter like in the works. Looks really cool. And yes, and it's Neil Blomkamp. Absolutely, yes. He has Neil Blomkamp on there.
Neil Blomkamp, the director of
yes, Chappie, yeah. Neil Blomkamp is involved, all of them. But this studio has never made a game yet. They have multiple studios in multiple locations. They're building this really awesome looking multiplayer game, and they have no game, but obviously their backer has been being corrected. He's not just a tech bro. Absolutely, yes. But yes, he basically saw this
was
gave it to him.
Supposed to direct the first Halo movie, right?
Halo,
after Steven Spielberg walked
and that's why it turned to Chappie. Remember?
Yep.
Yes, and that's when it turned to Chappie. And by the way, because
no,
love our community.
Chappie. There was a movie before that
wasn't it
Chappie after? Yeah. Go ahead.
Wasn't it Chappie?
Go ahead.
Okay. Keep looking. Because Game on Jesse, he says nobody's talking about Mind's Eye. Sir, you are wrong. I had Mind's Eye coming up next. So boom. Thank you for being here, by the way. But yes, I'm talking about Elysium. Elysium was the next one.
Yes.
Elysium. But I thought I could have sworn I saw Chappie in Chappie.
No,
hold
on.
I could have sworn
District 9.
District 9.
It was District 9
because
Elysium was Matt Damon,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Where they had
Yes, it was District 9 because in District
Elysium and then Chappie.
Pieces of warthogs in District 9, like broken down pieces of warthogs. But yes. Anyways, so thank y'all for being here. Mind's Eye. Wanted to bring this up, not for any purposes, but it looks so damn cool. Everborn Saga. Have you seen
this is the people who did GTA, right? Is that this one? Is this the GTA?
This is a partner, as you're seeing, partnership with IO. This is completely different. This is the actor, the visual actor who did this, who's in this, is oddly enough also, I think also in where I know it from him is he's in what do you call it? Oh God, what's the name of the game? Mafia 3.
Okay.
Clay in Mafia 3. He's the visual. If you see him right now, that's the visual actor for Mafia 3. And like he's done a lot of very interesting parts and roles. This game just looks insanely good. Like it's almost like, as we know, GTA 6 is coming and setting a benchmark. These guys want to steal their lunch before they have a chance to make a splash. This looks like it's almost like what Space Marine 2 is doing while we're waiting for the next Gears. You know what I'm saying?
Interesting.
You should. Yeah, this looks really cool, and it has a very technological kind of tinge to it, which I like. Very focused on storytelling, which I also like. And I mean, you can see it. The graphics.
What is the moment-to-moment gameplay like?
But that's the question. We don't know. as Karate Laundromat says, he said, Mind's Eye is a tech demo, but built inside a new engine. Yeah, it looks like it potentially could be the culmination of that vision that we were looking for. But right now, it's just whoever made it cut a damn good trailer. That's all we can say. They cut a damn good trailer. It looks very good, like unusually good. So there's that. Anyway, I saw that was a couple of days ago, and I was like, man, like if we ever actually get games that run and look this good actually in retail, like that would be something. But the trailer looks amazing. We shall see. All right. Well, before we get out of here fully, I want to talk about the Nintendo Switch.
Okay.
Why? Because we saw the Nintendo Switch. We saw them do a Nintendo Direct, right? There's rumor and speculation coming out all over the place now because Nintendo is now, we are so close to their full unveiling. Isn't it like April 2nd? Am I wrong? Is it April 2nd or April 3rd?
April 2nd is when they're going to show it off and tell us. I will say now, get your credit cards or debit cards or whatever you're using to pay for this thing ready in all the retailer sites. I'm talking about go to Target, go to Walmart, go to Best Buy.
No, Mr. Everborn Saga.
Wait, hold on.
Stop it.
Hold on. I'm just telling people, get your info ready so that you got your browser tabs ready so that when they drop the info, you will know. And by the way, I've heard the rumors that they're not going to open the pre-orders that same day, but I lived through the PS5 launch. And these retailers will get greedy and somebody's going to jump the gun early. Be ready for when it happens is all I'm saying. And you don't want me to say it because you want to have the launch day all to us so that we can secure them.
You're damn right. That's what I want. What are you doing? You're ruining it for everybody.
It's like I'm just trying. This is a community announcement. Just letting you all know.
No. Everborn Saga said nothing to see here. April 2nd is just another day. But yes, it looks like the pre-orders are coming hot and heavy. And damn it, I need 3, so y'all better get out of my way. So
3.
You better be get out of
Okay.
I need 3. Yeah, what's going on?
Okay.
No, I need 2 for me and 1 for kids. Okay, calm down. What's wrong with y'all? Trying to help people? Why are you trying to help people, making our life more difficult? This is the same Everborn Saga that was salty about the Steam Deck for months because he didn't get his hands on it day one. Anyway.
Hey, man.
So it looks like the plans for Nintendo's next iteration is coming to fruition. There's more rumor and speculation on pricing and when it will be available and all of that. Are you buying on day one, sir? Are you in there day one?
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact,
because it sounds like they have a lot of games coming out too, like Nintendo games and Mario games and all this. You might be out like a grip on that day.
I'm ready. I've been planning for this a long time. What I have, I have two questions for the chat, and if everyone could answer. First question is, what do we think this thing is going to come in at? I need final guesses because we're going to know by Tuesday. And then
let me end this. Let's do this one instead. Yeah. Let's do that. Go ahead.
Then the other question is, how many are you getting on day one? Or how many are you trying to get on day one?
Okay. So Switch 2 pricing. I think if it, like I can see it come in at $399. I can see that. I can see $399. I can. So I will not even entertain the idea that this thing comes without a dock.
Okay, so you think it's $399 with a dock, and you think that price?
I think whatever iteration of price point we get will include all of the pieces. All of it will be together. Why? Because if you even look at the back here, look at this back right here. You see this? This Switch is not compatible with the last Switch. So how are you going to sell this to somebody without a dock? They can't use their old dock. It doesn't fit.
Yeah, they could buy the dock separately.
Sir, that's not how Nintendo moves. There is no world where they will send you one without a dock.
Let me remind everybody of the bet that myself has with Mr. Lucius Augustus and our other co-host, Mr. John Wolf, who is currently in Japan right now.
In Japan, shout out to John. Yes, absolutely.
With family and whatnot. I believe that the Switch 2 will not be more than $399, and as such, I believe they'll have to cut corners, and the first thing they will cut is the dock and sell that separately. Now, that being said, if it is $499, I believe it will come with a dock, but I don't think it'll be $499. This is my thinking.
Okay. Well, I put it in the chat. Switch 2 price. We got $399. Nobody thinks it's $350 or something. We got $399. We got $450. We got $499, and then we got $550 plus. Where do you think it falls?
I think. Whoa. $440.
Hey,
it's $399.
We're going through the whole thing.
I know the price.
$399, which is $400, $450, right? And then we have $500, and then $550 and above. Where do you think it'll fall? Let's see what our chat thinks. Hey,
$399, no doubt. Karate Laundromat is $349. He must be out of his mind.
See, Karate Laundromat, I want to agree with you because that's the ideal pricing. But the world we live in with inflation and tariffs and all this, that, and the third, I don't think we come in that low. I hope so. I hope it's
apparently there's a lot of people that think $349.
There you go.
Maybe that should have been.
There you go. Yeah, that could be a factor. So okay. Beyond the pricing, I also hear this is all rumor and speculation.
I haven't heard anybody talk about how many they're trying to get on day one. That was the other question.
Okay. So part 2 is what are your plans for acquisition? What are you planning on getting? Are you planning on getting 1, 2, 3? Let's see.
I need one for me, I need one for the daughter, and I need one for the business. So I need 3, but I got to get at least one. So
yeah, me too. One is a minimum requirement, obviously.
That everybody got to wait if I can't get it.
And the one and only
Xbox
Frontline News is in here. Is
that the 98% or is that the 2%?
See, if it's $499 though, then it leaves impulse purchase territory. It leaves it's at $500, then it can't just be something you give to kids. You know what I mean? That's why I'm like, it's got to be a little lower than that. Because Nintendo has always benefited from, this is for kids.
But what do you think the idea of a 3DS type of thing where they know they can get $499 from the launch inventory and then they drop it afterwards? Because they did that with the 3DS.
Yeah, he says, and King David said that's why he feels it won't be as successful because of the pricing. Mm. Have you seen the rumors that they're connecting it to the original Switch or that they like you? I'm not sure I believe that either. But
even then, that's very eerily reminiscent of the Wii U, where you're like, oh, you get a game on the TV and you're connected to another tablet, and that keeping the same name like the highly successful Wii going to the Wii U. You're doing some tablet thing again. I don't know. The question is, what distinction, right? If this thing is just called a Switch 2, will there be enough of a distinction between you're going in the store and you got 3 kids, they all got a Switch Lite or a Switch HD or a Switch OG, and those are not going to come off the shelves yet, I don't think. So what are people going to buy? Are they going to see a reason to go and get this thing if it's backwards compatible and probably playing all the same games?
That's the thing, right? But I feel like what you're asking will all be dependent upon their messaging, their marketing.
I do want to add to that, though, that I do think they're going to sell whatever they can make in the first year. But it's not about the first year, because the first year is your built-in audience, right? And if the rumor is correct that they're aiming for 20 million in year 1, I think they'll hit that. The question is, year 2, how do those things how do you continue that? You know what I mean?
Sir, the chat is making some bold claims. You got MJ Dark saying it'll be $4.99 with the dock and Mario Kart 9 bundled in. And you think that's bold? You got the king 10 toes down. He's agreeing.
I don't doubt anyone that says it will be $4.99 that it will come with a dock. But
with also a game.
First of all, not over Miyamoto's dead body, because Miyamoto does not believe. If you read that Reggie Fils-Aimé book, he talks about how Miyamoto didn't even want to put Wii Sports in the Wii, and that was a fight. So to think that they would put Mario Kart 9 in a tie-in, I don't know about that.
Okay. What do we think the UI will be like?
I've seen some mock-up videos and it looks so good.
Are we still using our social security to communicate with friends? That's my only question.
No, I think they'll update that. Another thing, I think with the OG Switch, they made it a point to work with Unity to support that engine for their games. I think with this Switch, since that work's already done, they're going to make it a point to have broad support and low-level support for UE5.
I mean, it definitely has to have low-level support for UE, because it is an NVIDIA GPU-based system, which part and parcel works very well with it. Well, yeah, true. It was last time it was very, very much depreciated in comparison to now. We shall see. We shall see. But okay. So I guess the excitement for Switch 2 is out there. Let's see. For our question, we asked what you think the price point would be, and man, it is very tight, the competition in the thought here.
$399. Not that you asked this, but $399 no dock.
So we got $399 and $499 neck and neck. $399 just kind of inched out for a 41%, 39% now. But y'all are really thinking the $450 crowd, and which is where I am. I think they want $399, but they'll do $450 because of reasons.
Because they want the dock in there.
No, because they need the money. That's what they need. It's the idea that they're gonna sell any of these things piecemeal. Nintendo is unfathomable to me. They don't sell anything piecemeal. They sell it together. Now you want to buy another one, an extra? Okay, but your initial introduction to the package is always together. That has always been Nintendo. So that's why I don't believe they'll sell anything piecemeal. Whether it's like $399 or $1,000, it'll all come together. There will be no separate pieces. But that's just me. Anyway, it looks like people are, neck and neck, 40% to 38%. People think that it's around $399, if not $400. Okay, we shall see. I hope y'all are right. The $499 crowd, I hope y'all are wrong. I think I think you hope y'all are wrong because that's just too much asked if I'm buying 3 of them. But okay. Last story.
Yeah. Well, hold on. I want you to do another
Okay.
poll for how many you're getting on day 1.
Okay. How many we're getting on day 1? Okay.
3 or more.
All right. So, all right. How many? Let's see. Let's do it. So, switch to day 1. How many are you getting? Okay. It'll be in the chat in a moment. And I want to know 1, 2, 3, or 4. And I put 4 in there because we got King David in there. Some people get a lot. Some of us see further than others. So I got to bow out. I'm in here for 3, but I don't think mine is the most. So needless to say, how much are you gonna get?
Oh, is that a question for me?
Yes. How much are you gonna get?
I'm aiming for 3, but at least 1.
You're aiming for 3.
Get a hold of 3.
Well, yeah, 3. Definitely 1. At least Anyway, so it's in the chat. Final story, and then we'll double back.
Zeros in the chat. You guys
zeros. Yeah. Oh yeah, BT Maverick, you're a liar, sir. I see you. And Erodimus, you too. Liar, sir.
Believe you. You need more people.
He's Slow-Mo's gonna give them his money. He's gonna give him pieces. He's not gonna take it. He's gonna give some back. So 0.5. That's what he's doing. Anyway, final story. And I feel like we need to talk about this
because he's gonna buy the version without the dock.
He always got to thread that needle and make his case, even though we all know that is ridiculous and will not happen. It will not happen, ladies and gentlemen. It will not happen. It will come with a dock. But I need to ask.
Well, Slow-Mo, first of all, one thing, real quick, Slow-Mo. Slow-Mo's lying because if it comes with Fire Emblem, he's buying 4.
Oh, yeah. Of course he is. Of course he is. And he knows this. Digital receipts, baby. It's all good. Final story before we get out of here. And this begs a conversation because this is kind of crazy. Much like how we hear, and those of us on them socials here, but much like how we hear the X has been sold from one hand to another hand. It looks like
sold X to himself. That's
yes. It looks like Ubisoft sold a piece of itself to a piece of itself and Tencent. What do we think is going on here? Have you been paying attention to this? What's going on?
This feels like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic.
True words, sir.
It was an honor playing for you, sir.
Okay.
This feels like Billy Zane is about to steal somebody's kid and pretend it's his so he could get on a lifeboat.
So, for those who watched Titanic, anyway. So, it looks like the Guimau family, Yves, as you see on the screen here, is taking pieces of Ubisoft, parts of Ubisoft assets, and creating a new subsidiary. And Tencent is staking $4.3 billion into that stake.
Hold on. Okay, wait a minute.
Oh no! Hold on! No! I'm wrong. The value, yes. They are putting 1.5 in it, combined with the 1.16 that Ubisoft already has, and together it's valued at that large stake. So, is this a situation where they're doing this to protect themselves from Ubisoft proper falling and potentially like having to sell off its share, having to share off assets and IPs and things?
No, I think the assets can still get sold off, but what this allows them to do is have a separate structure, and with the high performing assets, right? You'd assume Assassin's Creed, you'd assume Tom Clancy, Rainbow Six, and things like that. And then the other things, because Ubisoft is a massive organization, especially compared to the amount of revenue that they bring in, you'd be very surprised. And so what this reeks of to me is, let's get the popular stuff so it doesn't have the stink of the other stuff on it. And now if we need to do layoffs and shutdowns and spin outs, that's fine. It won't mess up the valuable asset. And so I think what's to come is going to be very bloody, and it may not even save what's there. So it's interesting to watch, but I think what's also interesting is no one has come by to scoop them up, and even Tencent is like dipping a toe in, but not, you know what I mean? Tencent's like, let me sample the milk, but I'm definitely not buying the cow.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's very strange, and let's be clear, this is not new, right? This has happened before. If you remember Google, everybody remembers Google, but they don't seem to remember that Alphabet owns Google now. The same idea, right? They wanted to make less of a liability for Google itself because of everything was Google. So they kind of separated Google across a few different companies, some of the assets across a few different companies, and then made Alphabet the top level that governs those companies. So now Google is one arm of Alphabet and doesn't have all of Google's main.
Right. So if Nest or
yes,
or whatever is not making money, it's not
they
going
can get rid of it
from the
That's right.
The profitability or whatever, at least from the accountant's perspective of Google. So Google can say, listen, this is where we make the money, this is what we are. So but again, I don't know if this is going to work. What I will say is it seems like yet again Assassin's Creed is doing very well, despite all the people that tried to knock it down a peg. Funny how that works. They tried to knock down Assassin's Creed Shadows. They tried to knock down Avowed. Avowed seems to be doing pretty well. They're probably going to try to knock down something else, and that's probably going to do well as well. So how's that working out for you guys?
I'm sure I don't know who you're talking about. I'm sure I don't know who you're talking. I'm sure. Anyway, but do you think that with all this, does Ubisoft itself survive it? Is there a world where this new subsidiary becomes the mainstay and Ubisoft becomes null and void?
Well, I think there is a scenario where the new subsidiary just becomes what Ubisoft is, and the rest of it could go away.
Well, I guess the main question I'm asking when it comes to that is there a world like in the world we live in today where Xbox Live no longer exists, but the actual function still exists? Is there a world where the word Ubisoft becomes a page for history books, but still it functions the same? No,
because I think even this new entity, when they publish stuff, they'll publish the name. And if the rest of it goes away, they'll just retain the name Ubisoft by this new thing. I think that name still has a little bit of power, but I doubt that they'll come in and just call it all something else. This is just corporate structure stuff. But yeah, I could absolutely see a very stripped down Ubisoft that only focuses on those core IPs, not unlike Activision focusing on a few key Blizzard titles and COD, right? And again, that saddens me because we just talked about, hey, where's Rayman? Where is Splinter Cell, right? They're supposed to be working on that, but does that survive whatever the new thing is? Who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a question, right? It's very weird. Some of these are games that people have asked for many, many years, and we're still patiently waiting. But okay. Soul Tech, $5 super chat. He says, if you're gonna buy the Nintendo Switch 2 day one, and even if not, please subscribe and hit the like button.
That's very smart advice. It's good advice.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. That's great.
But sir, what we haven't done is I don't think we've actually picked our winners yet. We're
about to.
Okay, good.
We're about to. Yeah, we're about to. Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. And we have Hollywood Rules, $2 super chat. He says, in Belize, listening to the fellas, Graybeards. Wow. So you're listening to us in Belize right now. I'm being heard in Belize. I'm happy to be being heard.
Are you with the murder mommies? You'll understand that if you anyway. Forget it. If you know, you know.
I'm happy you did that after Chris left. Thank you.
Appreciate it's a rap lyric from the night. Forget it.
I know what it is. It's still highly inappropriate. Anyway, the legendary Yobi, $5 super chat. He says, Switch Lite, $99, Switch $150, OLED 200, Switch 2 $399, Switch 2 with dock $499. So he's on your page as in dockless.
He is, but that's Nintendo's never given you a Switch Lite for $99, and the OG Switch for $149, and the OLED for because the OLED right now is $349. I'm with you on the Switch 2 pricing, but the other stuff I don't think it's going down that low. They'd rather stop selling. And Zach Riley got the reference.
Yes, of course Zach Riley got the reference. We all got the reference. It's highly inappropriate.
All right. All right. Okay.
Anyway, so speaking of the legendary Yobi, he didn't ask a question, but he made a statement he put a statement in the which was quite beautiful. I got to tell you, quite beautiful, and I'll share it with you later. So beautiful, in fact, that he wins a copy of the codes. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only legendary Yobi. Thank you, Yobi. You are a man among men. We appreciate you, sir. Thank you for being here.
What was the
I'll share it with you. He just expressing how he appreciates what we do for this community, and he always does that. He always has done that. He continues to do that. I appreciate him so much. So, sir, you're getting a code. You get to choose between it is Steam, or you get Xbox Live. Anyway, we have a premium and we have a Steam for you. Holla at me in them DMs, sir. You are a treasure among us in this community, and I want to celebrate you. So thank you for always being here. You get a code.
In other words, flattery will get you everywhere, folks.
Exactly. Flattery get you everywhere. That's right. Nerds and Other Legends, great new member of our community. He's in the Discord. He says, shout out to the Discord. Great community, great conversations. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. He's been in Discord all week. He's been hanging out with us. We've been having some interesting conversations there. You too can be a member of our Discord. Just beneath that like button, there's a link to the Discord. Become a member. Join us. Have a good time. In addition to the great legendary Yobi, Soil Tech also posed a very cool question. So he too wins a code. So thank you, Soil Tech, for posing the question. He's always here. He's always asking pertinent, interesting, awesome questions. So that's Soil Tech. You also get a code. So we have Yobi, we have Soil Tech, and we also have BT Maverick. He also asked a very pertinent question. Thank you, BT Maverick. I appreciate you always being here, always asking awesome questions. So there's that. There's BT Maverick, there's Soil Tech, and there's the legendary Yobi. Now, the last one I may have to end up throwing it back into the pot. I will let him make his decision, because the last one comes from one of our community members, a great member who also himself hosts the show, and that one was the Infinite Umbra. If he chooses to, he may want to throw it back in the pot, but the Infinite Umbra also asked a great question. So I figured, hey, let's give Infinite Umbra access to the code. So let's double back. We have BT Maverick, we have Soil Tech, we have the legendary Yobi, and we have the Infinite Umbra. Thank y'all so much for asking awesome questions, and you will each receive a code of South of Midnight. 3 of the codes are from Steam and 1 is from Xbox. So reach out to me in them DMs. Whichever one I have, I will pass on to you. If you happen to do it in the Steam side, now you have it and you can play. Or you can have the Xbox side of the house and you get the premium code and you get all the extras there as well. Thank y'all so much. Appreciate y'all. So, I see Doc Dark is in here. He says, KSR to give away stuff? Wow. Thank you, sir. What beard oil do I use? It's my natural oils, sir. We use natural fruits and berries. I don't know what you're talking about, sir. Thank you very much for being here. Anyway, Mr. Everborn Saga, sir, what do you think? I think we're 2 hours, the most concise we've ever been. Are we done here?
I think we've covered the gamut.
Wow.
Unless there's anything that anybody can bring up, but this was a great show, man. Great interview at the top. Brought up some interesting indie games. Talked about the news and had a had some great giveaways of a game that we're all looking for. So I think it's all downhill from here. So we might as well get out while the getting is good.
And before we get out of here, Danny Passion Official thought out super chat. He says Avowed is a decent game. Nothing wrong expecting more from a $70 game. You might think that is hate. I think otherwise. Both games aren't below average. What do you think of that, sir?
What is the other game? He said Avowed.
So,
I understand.
You were talking about Avowed, and you were talking about another game that you were saying that that people were not giving credit for. Definitely not South of Midnight.
Everyone's journey with a game is gonna be different, right? And there are options like to not have to pay that $70 price tag, right? Whether you get it in a subscription, which it is included in the subscription, or you do what I do and just wait for the CD key sales or Green Man Gaming. Right?
He meant AC Shadows. He meant AC Shadows.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I can't give you a real score because I haven't beaten Avowed, but I'm at about an 8 on it. So I think it's a damn good game, you know. But again,
Omo Backslap asks if I've beaten Avowed. Ask me that question probably Monday. Probably the answer will be yes by then. Right now, the answer is almost. We'll see. So there's that. And last but not least, real quick, let's just say, Umbra, the great infant Umbra, says he wants that put back into pot. But we're at the end of the show. So you know what I'll say? How about you check out The Fix this week? Because this week on The Fix, on Thursday, I'm sure the infinite Umbra will be glad, if nothing else, to possibly give away his code of South of Midnight, since he now has an extra. So if you're not watching and you're not tuning into the infinite Umbra's The Fix on a weekly basis, you should be, because I think he'll probably be giving away a code of South of Midnight this week.
Yeah. So just really quick, Danny Passion Official says a subscription is a rental. Yeah, right. And a video game is not an asset, right? What difference does it make how you access the game? Now, if the issue is you don't think something's worth $70, maybe try it in a subscription, or maybe wait until you can get it for not that price, right? I just paid $3 for a $40 game, right? You don't, you know, you got to do what makes sense to you. And if you don't think something's worth $70,
rentals have been in the movie business for eons. No one has depreciated the value of movies because of rentals.
Yeah, only movies have depreciated the value of movies, but
yes, that has nothing to do with the medium of delivery, right? That movie is still good, whether you rented it or you bought it or you watched it in the movie theater once. The delivery method should never be how we determine its value, right?
All right, let's do one thing before we go, because I think this is a good thing, and there was a lot of talk this week about it. Apparently, Doc Dark 1985. There's level to this. Says, did you guys talk about why Steam is the biggest excitement for the next Xbox? Can't Xbox users just get a PC? So Doc, it is all about the user interface, right? And again, this does not apply to people who already game at the desk and are comfortable with a mouse and keyboard. If that happens to be you, this should make no difference to you. But if you yourself have spoken many times about the benefit of going to PC, but what we also look at is the drawbacks in terms of the user interface and how sort of esoteric using PC can be. So the idea that Xbox, who their biggest Achilles heel is games missing the platform, a lot of people, if a game is available in two places, they're going to buy it on their preferred platform. So if that preferred platform doesn't require you to go spend another $500 to get the one-off games that you miss, that is a good thing. Some might argue, right? If you think this is, you know, a way to get a W over somebody else, that doesn't matter. But for your day-to-day gaming life, having something that has access to secondary stores for content that might miss your favorite store is a good thing. And again, if the user, the reason, and I know the follow-up to that is if you go to Steam, everybody will just buy their games on Steam. But again, the reason for that is because the user interface right now, if you're used to controller first input, is not great on the Xbox side of things and the Windows PC side of things, right? And this is also about like Steam apps getting the updates first, right? And so if they can fix their store to where PC, Xbox games get updates in the same fashion that the Epic Store gets in relation to the Steam Store, and if you have a user experience that allows you to access your Game Pass stuff and buy games where you can still get your achievements and continue that gaming legacy, the thinking is people will go to Steam for the Black Myth Wukongs, right? Or the Final Fantasy VIIs. But if I had the choice and all things were equal, all things are not equal today. This is why I choose Steam. But if all things were equal, I would buy a game where I could get my achievements and things like that.
Yeah. And truth be told, to your point, along the lines that you're describing there, like I feel like we always have to talk about we have different conversations when we're talking about the console, because from a consumer perspective, the console means something else, and from the developer / creators of technology, consoles mean a different thing, right? The idea, and I think it was Jax that said it, which is that consoles are better because they're convenient and they're better plug and play, right? That is the paradigm today that has been established today, and that's the reason why that is today. What we're describing, obviously, the devil will be the execution details, and that's the huge if. Yeah, please go. That's the huge if, but what we're describing is a world where that convenience and that plug and play happens whether you are on a console or otherwise, because a console by its inherent nature is now a PC, right? What will define the console of the future will be its convenient user interface and its plug and play nature when you hit the button. But from a technology perspective, there'll be no difference between it and a PC, because it's the same fundamental framework that builds both of them. The only difference is one will prioritize the convenience while the other prioritizes the super user, right? So ultimately, if they're able to thread the needle well, because that's the big needle threading part that we always kind of talk about. If they're able to thread it well, this will be a non-question, right? Is it a console? Is it a PC? It doesn't matter. You hit the play button, it plays, and that's it. Of course, the devil will be in the execution details, which historically they haven't been as perfect at. So
and I got a contractor ringing my bell, so I actually do have to run.
But we're gonna get out of here. Yeah, last super chat.
The thing that I will say is, the question is not about what does Steam mean or Steam integration mean for the next Xbox. The interesting question is, can Xbox, Microsoft pull off a proper user interface and turning Windows into something?
It's that execution that's the important part.
That's that's where the biggest question mark is. And I don't know if any of us can confidently say that we know for a fact that they will or won't, for that matter. But looking at how slow they've moved in the past, I can understand why some people would be cynical.
People would think so. Absolutely. All right, let's grab a couple super chats and we will get out of here. This has been a great show. You guys have made it absolutely excellent. Awesome. Thank you guys for your continued support. Continue, like button, subscribe, all that stuff. You know what it is. BT Maverick also gifted 5 memberships. The great BT Maverick. Thank you so much, brother. You are too damn kind. And of course, Danny Passion. He's passionate and he's official. He's here with another $5 super chat. He says, having something easy to access doesn't make it good or better. Elden Ring, the best game of the generation, costs $60. Stop defending mid-games.
But I mean, I don't know who that was in reference to, but the whole point was, if you think the game is mid, don't buy it until it reaches a price point that you feel like it is worth. And if you're still not convinced, maybe try it in a subscription service.
right?
This is not
because
about
again,
defending
the
anything.
the delivery service has no bearing on the quality of the actual product, and it shouldn't. And if it does, that's a problem, right? It is what it is. Anyway, I think that's it, Mr. Everborn Saga. I think we've laid it pretty flat today. I think that this has been a pretty successful show. I didn't mean it like that, but you know what it is.
You say so, sir.
So we're rounding almost 200 episodes. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. So I have to, while we're in the outro section of our show, I have to ask the community. I asked Everborn Saga a couple of days ago. I'm asking the community now. Like, this is what we do here on this community. We're going to put it into the ether and let that come to us. We all believe in the secret. So who are we having on for our 200th episode? I need y'all to speak that into existence. Or holler at me in the DMs, or find me on Twitter or anywhere else and tell me who you want. Like, let's ideate on that, because 200 episodes are upon us, and it's going to be great. And I feel like, hey, we've had the audio director of Compulsion Games on now. Nowhere to go but onward and upward. So let's shoot for the stars. And on that point, thanks so much to Xbox and Compulsion Games for having Chris join us. Chris Fox was a great guest. We appreciate him. Everborn Saga, sir, I know it's a busy week. Where can people keep up with all your ongoings? What do they need to know for their week?
If you want to talk to me, it will be on Discord. It will not be on X. And go to everbornsaga.com, where you can get 15% off all orders using checkout code GCP, all capital letters. It was a pleasure having this conversation today. I thank you, Kay, for putting this together. I thank the chat for being respectful. I appreciate all the questions, even from Danny Passion. It's a great, all of this stuff is a great debate. Shout out to Doc Dark. Shout out to King David. Shout out to Slow Mo and Umbra and Sick for giving a game out. Shout out to the legendary Yobi, Stilo Facts, everybody. I really appreciate this community that we are all trying to build together. And yeah, man, it's been great. Until next week.
Absolutely. See you then. Yeah. And as for me, once again, we have BT Maverick, Soil Tech, Yobi, and by the way, check out Umbra the Fix, because he will also be giving away a game. There's that. Y'all holler at me in the DMs and let me get your code. Appreciate y'all for being here. Thank you guys so much. Shout out to the great John Wolf, who's in Japan right now. He will be for a little bit. So with that, the Gamers Playground is a little bit on hiatus. We're retooling it and this and that. So you'll see more from that when he comes back. We will definitely be coming back with you guys with more gaming topics and more PC focused stuff. So that'll be fun. But yeah, I think that's it, man. We've done it. We did the damn thing, as they say. I'm super happy. Thanks once again to Chris and Compulsion and Xbox for having for joining us and being so generous with their time. But yeah, man, that's it. Until next week, I think we've done it. Peace.
Nice to be in orbit.